The local press outside told me that Charlie Flanagan is in total control of politics around here. And they would like some woman to stand up against him. But that's what they told me, and that's hot off the press, Charlie, outside the door, that you're in total control and somebody has to stand up and challenge you. Yeah. Anyway, it's a great privilege to be here. I have covered the plains of Portlaoise for the radio. I've covered silage and thrashing and cutting and reaping with the great farmers, which I suppose is real politics, is the politics of people's lives. I'm interested as to why I was asked, because I don't necessarily write for any paper, but I do work in the world of radio, which is the oral theatre of our world and of our lives. And I spend most of my time doing what I suppose people do all the time, telling stories, and as I say, the stories of our entrances and our exits. And the last time I was here in this theatre, I was with a theatre company called Northern Broadsides, and they were a Shakespeare theatre company from Yorkshire. And we did two plays, The Merry Wives of Windsor. In The Merry Wives of Windsor, I played a whispering, overweight housekeeper, which I still am, haven't changed a bit. And in King John, I played Constance, who was very political insofar as that she was trying to hold on to her throne. And the first line of the play is, "What news from abroad?" So it brings me right back to what the media is, news. The second thing I'd like to say, that as a senator, I don't, my first time around what they call Paul Core political correspondence, I didn't really understand what that meant. But also, the Senate is not necessarily considered that political. I'm not anyway, insofar as I was gifted by Enda, and I'm somewhat outside politics. But on the Pat Kenny show, and with Miles Dungan here, and with Sean O'Rourke, I've had the privilege of being kind of a journeywoman and running around the country and talking to embalmers and fishermen and sewermen and bikers and post office workers. And Vincent Brown said to me, "You're not to do that when you become a senator. You don't be doing that and running around the country like a journeywoman. Or organise yourself, and in the Senate." But in actual fact, he was wrong, because it was absolute politics. Because I learned so much from all the people I met, because their lives, what they did with their lives, how they lived their lives, why they lived their lives, when they lived their lives, what their agriculture or living on the sewer, working in the sewers, or working for the post office, or working as fly fishermen, or working as chiropodists. You learn so much about people's feet, and through people getting their feet done, they'll tell you lots about their lives and the way their lives had worked and the way politics is our lives. So I don't separate that out. That's the first thing, that politics is our lives and how we live our lives. But when you come to the media, the question has to be asked, how do you hold back the tide of media? You can't, because everybody has a media message from Twitter and my Facebook and news and forums and Formula and social media and internet and tablets and iPhones and iPads and YouTubes and personal computers and sites. So where do you begin and where do you stop? And it has become what Postman called technopoly. The technology of politics, technopoly, extraordinary. So it's very hard to know where to begin in the argument and where to end. And everybody has a media message, and here's mine. Every child has a media message. Every young person has a media message. Everybody has a media message. And we are mediating ourselves to death in one way. And there's the great kind of plug-in has become, the Moses tablet has become the great plug-in turned Apple. So that's a major question. How do you hold back the tide of media? I don't know. And how do you separate it? I don't know. Would we miss the press if it was taken from us, for a week? Would we miss it? I'd have to say maybe no. And the reason I might say that is the other day I picked up this book, The Gathering, it's Reflections of Ireland. It was done for the Hospice Foundation, and it's out on the 1st of October. And it is a magic book with writers and poets. I think it's one of the last things Seamus Heaney wrote before his death. In this book, about a linking back and a linking forward, and lives and people's ideas and poetry and stories and experiences, and linking a bridge back, I suppose, as well as a bridge forward. And I learnt as much, and I say that with all the respect for our writers here, I learnt as much in the book as I might have learnt in 3 weeks in reading everything that we're thrown at by the press. That's the first thing. Does the political press undermine more than it reports? I sometimes feel that the press feeds an undermining of things as opposed to, I hate the word positivity, but as opposed to a more majestic foundation of things. Sometimes I feel it lacks analysis, that reporting and commentary analysis all gets rolled into one, and the immediacy of the action dictates the immediacy of the pen, and we don't get enough analysis. And it's not just through the lens of the paper. There is a huge other lens out there as a big audience, that sometimes we don't ask who is the audience, and that sometimes political memory, outside some of the politicians and some of the great political writers here, the political memory is lost in young writers, that they don't contextualize what they're saying, and there's not enough history coming with the way what they're saying and what they're writing and what they're concluding, that it's a very scant history. And as I say, the political memory is lost. Are politicians too close to the media? I don't know, because the Senate never gets covered unless Senator Fergal or Senator David Norris starts talking about people's fannies. And then there's a wonderful run at that. John Drennan, to be fair, was the only one when I was stalking the corridors talking about the lottery and the selling of the lottery licence, which is the greatest transfer of our own personal charity money to swagmen from Nevada. We were selling our lottery license, and he was the only one who picked it up. So I have a great belief in if you have a good story and a great writer, you're away. I think sometimes I would have to say there's a herd instinct. I don't like the word, but there is. The vilification of Enda Kenny, the most malign, whether I knew him or I didn't. Same thing to Cowan, as John has pointed out. Cowan is now the satanic paradise lost. Enda Kenny was the most maligned leader of an opposition, and he became Taoiseach despite what was said about him. It ended up, a writer said, that he was a cut above smallpox. Now, that's very hard to take. That was something that I think that is not balanced against the lionising of Bertie Ahern. But then people say, oh, you would say that, you're forgetting again. No, I wouldn't. They're human beings. No, I wouldn't. So that's really all I want to leave you with, the thought that I think that we have too much information, far too much information, and with less meaning. And we don't need any more information. We need more questions. I think our chair said that earlier. We need more, greater and deeper analysis of how, why, where, and when. It's not lack of information has half the world starving. And it's not lack of information has half the world isolated and disenfranchised. And it's not lack of information that has filthied our water and polluted the planet. That's not lack of information. We have too much information, we have not enough action, and our information has become saturated and meaningless, because if it wasn't, we'd have done something about those things. So thank you.